What do you do for work?
I own this business, and then I also do some real estate as well.
What do you do? You got your real estate license?
I do not. No, we manage. My dad has commercial properties, so I help him with management of that.
Okay.
I dabble in a lot of things. This is probably my primary income as far as that goes.
Okay, I got you. And how long did you say that you've had this here?
We moved here in June of last year, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm. So June here at wholesale?
Yes.
Okay. And your internet provider?
Is Ozarks Go.
Everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. Welcome back to my channel. It is Thursday, February 10th. I hope you're having a wonderful day. We just talked about the court case related to Jill Duggar and Derek Dillard. And by the way, Derek showed up in my comments. He clapped back at assertions that Jill was paid for her interview on Megyn Kelly, which he is adamant did not happen. So if you're ever over on my Instagram, make sure you do. You never know who's going to stop by in my comments. It's at Without a Crystal Ball. So let's talk about something that I have already reported, but now I have a little bit more information on, and it's regarding a sales transaction that Anna had done back in like September of 2021. So remember I told you about how Anna had sold a property right before the trial, and she had done some interesting transactions where there was like a plot of land. There was like 3 separate plots. There was a house that was on the top of the hill, and then they had divvied up the lot into 3 separate plots that had like just land, no home on them. And then I told you about how she had sold the property that had the house to some real estate friends of the Duggars, and then she also sold like another piece of property to someone else and then took out a loan against one of them. Do you remember that whole video? I talked about it multiple times. Okay, so Josh and Anna, the house that they sold, it's coming into play today, and I think why some of the outlets are talking about it is because the transcript that was recently released by the court for the hearing that happened back in September, or Josh told the HSI investigators that the house that he lived at was the home that Anna sold. So they asked him where he lived, and he told them, what's the address? What's your home address? And he explains that it was North Graham Road, and then he spells it all out in Springdale. Remember, Josh also opened an LLC, or Anna opened an LLC with one of North Graham Road. Anyways, so he says the zip code, and then he says, how long have you been living at that address? And he says, not very long, about 6 months or around there. And he said, okay, who else lives there with you? And he says, my wife and kids. And he says, okay. And he says, we're in the process of remodeling. So we spend some time there and sometimes at my parents' place as well. So I don't know if you guys know, but the house that he is talking about was actually a house that was completely gutted from the inside out. And they had taken down the walls. They had completely removed everything out of the kitchen. It was a huge remodeling project. So I don't know if the house would have been livable during this time. And if you also remember, Josh and his kids were not living in that house because throughout that entire time, Anna was posting photos on her Instagram of them at the warehouse, and they were consistently seen at the warehouse that's on the Duggars property. It's like their guest house. It's the warehouse that they converted into a guest house. But he told the police or the HSI agents at that time that he was living in this house that was completely gutted from the inside out. So he says, we're kind of split between the two depending on what we have going on over there. And he says, and Agent Acock says, I got you. I hope you're not doing the remodeling. I mean, you got that. Josh says, I've got a big project there. It's 8,000 square feet. And he's like, oh, wow. And Josh says, yeah. And then Acock says, how many kids you got? And he goes, I have 5 kids, and my wife is due with another one in 3 weeks. And then they start talking about their kids. And then they ask him what he does for work, and he says that he dabbles in a lot of things, if you guys remember that. Okay, so my question here is that this was supposed to be their dream house, apparently, and it was 1,000 square feet. He had previously listed the house for $768,000, $768,900, and then he pulled it off the market. And the pictures that were posted online basically had like them ripping out flooring. They had pulled apart the pool. The place was enormous. It had, a couple cell towers on it, and it might have had a water tower on there. So Jim Bob was likely receiving some sort of like rental for the cell towers that were on the property, but the house was definitely in need of a lot of work. I don't know if it would have been livable at that point. And Josh had previously tried to sell this at one point in time before this all took place. So according to records, he actually listed the house on November 28th of 2020. So Jim Bob had actually gifted the house to him or sold the house to him on June 6th of 2019. This was like a couple months after Josh had actually sold his house that he had previously been living in. One of my sources at the time said that the housing market at that time was very good. And so they thought at the time that Josh had sold his house that he had shared with Anna because there was a good market, and that he moved into the warehouse at his parents' while he was going to be working on a build for a new place. So this coincides with what my sources was telling me. So my guess is that Jim Bob, Josh might have used the proceeds that he got from the sale of his house and bought this house from Jim Bob, and then they started working on it, and then at some point it got sidelined because a year after he is seen by the agents, he's talking about this remodel that he's working on. The remodel at some point completely stalls, and he puts the house on the market. According to records, it says it was put on the market on 11/28 of 2020 for $799. And the listing had stated that the house was going to need a lot of work. Right before trial, he ends up selling the house, at least Anna does, and it's sold on the 1st of October, and it sells for considerably less than what he initially had listed the house for. So the home goes for $450,000. The deed, when Jim Bob sent the house to Soli Deo Gloria, which is the account that is owned by Anna and Josh, the purchase price they had listed for that was $257,77. So Josh and Anna bought the house from Jim Bob and Michelle for $257,000, and then that was in June of 2019. They sell it about 2 years later for $200,000 more. And on top of that, it was listed in between that, and he tried to sell it for $799 when it was completely gutted and not put together. And it's not clear what the status of the house was at the time of the sale. Only that the people that bought it are known people of Jim Bob Duggar real estate friends. And I don't know if that house still needs to be repaired. I don't know if the house still needs to be remodeled or not. Clearly, this investigation bypassed their ability to finish this project, and it's now likely why they ended up staying at the Duggars property for as long as they did. So they had only planned to stay there temporarily while Josh likely worked to remodel that place to move into. And then when that got derailed by what he was doing and the HSI investigation, they were forced to sell the property. And my guess is that the property sale was because they needed to pay bills for their legal case. So Josh Duggar has had to sell off assets in order to pay for his defense. He had to mortgage his future. He got a stellar deal from his dad on that property, and he ends up basically selling it for a fraction of what it could go for if it were finished. And Anna and Josh give up on their future. And it's not like they give up on their future. Josh ruins their future and then has to mortgage the future for Anna and the kids so he can pay for his defense. That's what I think, and that's horrible. So Josh and Anna, interestingly, are over here getting all kinds of real estate transactions. They also sold another piece of property in October, and that was a piece of land, which they flipped from one of their LLCs to another. So somehow Josh had to finance his defense. And so Jim Bob may not be lying that Josh paid for some parts of his defense, although I can't see that now that he's behind bars, they have much more that they could sell. They would have to, at this point, really get creative if he's going to still continue to pay for all of these appeals that he's doing. And mind you, tomorrow is the day that the prosecutors have until responding to the motion to acquit. Now, I have something I wanted to share with you because this is kind of interesting. There has been quite a divide with Anna. She did not get any attention on her Instagram by anyone in the family when she posted her defense of Josh with the like there's more to the story thing. But I noticed today that Jill posted a shout out to Anna in one of her comments to someone about a reading program. This is what she said. He's reading through some kindergarten readers we have right now, and we practice whatever nonsense word charts Israel brings home from first grade, and then challenge each other, LOL. My sister-in-law, and then she tagged Anna, got us hooked on preschool prep company videos. Several can be found on YouTube Kids to help learn phonics, blends, sight words, etc. It has helped both our boys so much. Sam currently watches 1 and 2 of those videos every day. So she credits Anna for hooking her up with reading videos to help her kids read. And she actually tagged Anna, which I was like, oh, wow, so we're tagging Anna today. Anna did not respond. And there was no likes on that comment. But it is interesting that Jill was tagging Anna and crediting her for her help with her boys reading. So I guess Anna is valuable in some respects, right? Like, she's not all bad, right? There's got to be good to her somewhere. So long story short, Anna gives up the future of her family by selling the house that they were renovating to move into, and Josh claims that that was going to be their dream house, according to the transcripts that were released in court. So do you think they're going to have to sell more property in order to continue, or do you think Mr. Duggar, Jim Bob, is going to have to fund the defense? Tell me in the comments below. Bye, guys.